Welcome to the archives of infinite sagas. Subscribe now for more epic stories.
For most of human history, we have chased two ultimate goals: absolute power and the ability to live forever. We imagine that if we could just conquer death and rule without challenge, we would finally be satisfied. The Immortal King achieved exactly that. Yet he sits on an ice-carved throne, entirely surrounded by the crushing silence of centuries. No one challenges him. No one speaks to him. He is trapped in a state we can call the suffering of the unchanging. This happens when a person is completely insulated from risk, growth, and the natural cycle of decay. If we look at existence as a transaction, absolute power acts as an isolating cage. It severs any connection the ruler has to the breathing, evolving world outside his walls. From that throne, he watches his subjects cycle through their entire lives in what feels like moments. Generations are born, build families, and pass away, appearing to him as fading ghosts in a rapid-fire time-lapse. This chart shows the economic imbalance of his existence. We are plotting the length of time against the value of a given experience. When you have an infinite amount of time, the emotional value of any single event depreciates. Eventually, that value flatlines exactly at zero. Because human lives are short and desperate, they are packed with concentrated meaning. The king's endless eternity forces a permanent distance between his static dot on the chart and the cluster of rapidly blinking human lives. Realizing he is completely bankrupt of purpose, he starts searching for a market correction. Deep in his archives, he uncovers a single ancient text detailing an entity known as the Weaver of Fates. To save himself from the ice, he decides he has to track down this weaver and negotiate a radical transaction. He intends to buy back his mortality. The first step is leaving the frozen palace. He wraps himself in a heavy, unremarkable cloak, disguising himself as a weary traveler to ensure no one recognizes him. Before stepping outside the gates, he leaves his crown resting on the throne, and he strips off his heavy magical armor. He is deliberately divesting himself of the physical assets that defined his reign. Without his protections, he steps into the forbidden forest. This highly volatile environment operates without rules, making it a deeply dangerous place. In the past, he would have approached all of the mythical creatures here as a conqueror, forcing them to submit. Now he operates under a strict new protocol. He acts strictly as a silent observer. Dropping his armor was the easy part of the journey. The actual challenge is fighting the psychological instinct to assert control over a chaotic environment. The king witnesses a grieving family mourning a grandfather, and a young couple building a home through sheer physical exhaustion. He notices their pain possesses a texture and depth that his centuries of comfort lacked. This graph illustrates why their struggle matters. If you take an infinite gray span of time and cut it down to a tiny, finite segment, that short segment flares into intense color. Emotional meaning is generated directly by the absolute scarcity of time. The dark forest immediately tests this profound insight. It conjures aggressive illusions, shadows of his old enemies, designed explicitly to tempt him into using his dormant magic to protect himself. He chooses to absorb the pain of these phantoms rather than strike back. By refusing his magic, he experiences the visceral, frightening reality of being reachable and vulnerable. This active resistance confirms his new understanding of the world. He identifies vulnerability as the essential currency of existence, the only thing that allows for a genuine connection to others. He finally arrives at the realm of the Weaver of Fates. This space between worlds is entirely dark, intersected only by sharp, shimmering threads of geometric light. The Weaver outlines an extreme, non-negotiable cost for the transaction. To purchase a mortal lifespan, the king has to forfeit every single memory of his time as an immortal. He won't simply step down from the throne. He will become a blank slate, entirely stripped of his historical identity, unaware that he ever ruled a kingdom. The king weighs the terrifying prospect of annihilating his own established ego. He has to decide if living a real human life is worth erasing absolutely everything he has ever been. He accepts the bargain. To him, the omnipotent identity of a king has become the final, heaviest piece of armor keeping him locked inside the cage. The ancient magic completely fades. The cold, heavy memories of the ice palace dissolve into glowing particles, drifting up into a rapidly brightening dawn sky. A simple, vulnerable man wakes up on a muddy riverbank. The sun is rising, and for the very first time, he feels the sharp physical bite of the morning cold and a deep hunger in his stomach. He has absolutely no past and no power. He possesses nothing but the clothes on his back, yet he smiles, feeling a total sense of freedom he cannot explain. True freedom and the capacity to live require embracing the finite, ticking clock of our vulnerability.